Steve Yzerman just made a really smart move here. A very smart signing. This is almost exactly what they needed to do, and they needed to do it before New Year's Day. Earlier this morning, the Detroit Red Wings announced that they have signed forward Ondrej Becher to a 3-year entry-level contract. He has been assigned to the AHL's Grand Rapids Griffins. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute, Ondrej Becher? Wasn't this guy already playing in Grand Rapids? What do you mean Steve Yzerman signed him today on December 31st at 5 a.m. in the morning? Well, that's exactly the thing here. Ondrej Becher is indeed a part of the Grand Rapids Griffins. He already was on the Grand Rapids Griffins earlier this year, but he's only now being signed. Why is that? What's happening? What's the story here? Well, to fully get the scoop, let's go over onto the profile and just talk about what things have been going on with this player, because Ondrej Becher is a 20-year-old, 6'1", 187 left-handed center winger who was drafted by the Wings in the third round of the 2024 NHL Draft. We did make a video about this guy when he was drafted at the beginning, and what you'll notice is that because he was drafted in 2024 and because he was born in February 2004, he was an overage player in the Red Wings draft class. And as an overage guy, he was very expectedly dominant in the WHL level, which is where he had played last year. The thing is, with Becher and his development, because he was an 04 draftee, he would have been eligible for the 2022 NHL Entry Draft in the 21-22 season. There, he was pretty good, actually. Under a point per game in the Czech Junior League, he even had a game played with the Czech Second League, and he also had 2 goals in 6 games for the Czech U18 team. That's not particularly fantastic, and it's understandable to see why, in this time frame, with this draft-eligible season, Becher wasn't drafted. However, in his Draft Plus 1, he went over to Prince George. He was picked by them in the European Expansion Draft, or the Import Draft, excuse me. European Expansion Draft, what am I talking about? But he was a first-round talent in the CHL Import Draft by Prince George, headed over there to play his Draft Plus 1 year, had 38 points in 63 games played, not bad, but then the season after, last year, 23-24, he exploded. 96 points, 58 games played, 32 goals, 64 assists. He was at 10 points in 7 World Junior games for Team Czechia. Ondrej Becher came alive in the best way possible in 2023-2024. And so, what have we always been saying about these overage guys in the CHL? Sure, it's very easy for your team to go out there and sign them, but a lot of these guys wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity until much later on. So, what can you do instead? Instead of letting these guys' rights go to the free agent market and have a whole bunch of bidding wars go on for this player, you can use a draft pick on them. You're able to draft these guys until they're, 20, 21 years old, something like that? And so, when you have a draft pick, all of a sudden, his rights are in your system. Now, there isn't a bidding war possible for him because his rights are held by you, and for Steve Yzerman and the Wings, they saw potential in this guy. They're like, okay, he's too good for us to let him go to free agency and not have a chance to take him because some other team is going to sign him instead. Let's draft him, and then he can go to our AHL club on an amateur tryout where he's not going to be paid much, and then we can sign him before the end of the year. Take a look at this tweet made by Tyler. What's the general consensus here? He's finding his footing in the AHL, but he has shown a lot of promise on the junior stage internationally. 10 points, 7 games at the World Juniors last year, 96 points with the Cougs. He has excelled against kids younger than him, and he's doing well against men in the AHL. I'm surprised he's not getting to Toledo instead of struggling in the AHL, though. Another reply goes out there and says this: it's smart to sign him now, because starting tomorrow, he would have only been eligible for a 2-year entry-level contract. Because they signed him today, he's got that 3-year deal, and this really helps his longer-term development if Steve Yzerman and the Wings want to experiment a little bit here. If they don't fully know what they have in Ondrej Becher, and they don't know fully if that WHL production is going to translate into higher levels of play, just sign him now, get him onto your team, get his 3-year ELC installed, and now it gives you more flexibility into the next few years, because from 2 years ago to last year, he absolutely exploded. He started using his puck skills. He started using that one-time bomb that he's got. He's got really nifty hands. He's a magician with the puck. He can especially do really nice things on the backhand, and that one-timer, so elusive, so deadly on the power play. He's always been a really interesting talent from last year to this year, and the Wings are using their chips to make sure this guy has a developmental home in the National Hockey League. Let's go over onto the R Detroit Red Wings subreddit and read some commentary by Red Wings fans. Starting out with this, he's been playing in Grand Rapids on an ATO so far this season after starting the year with his ankle injury, 1 goal and 2 assists in 19 games. And while that point production doesn't necessarily stand out, he has not looked out of place at all. Hopefully he continues to adjust and improve. Next season in Grand Rapids should be pretty interesting. He had 96 points in the dub last season, not bad at all. We'll see. Generally, these overagers don't translate as well as they go up levels. They're better because they're bigger, older, stronger, faster, not because they're going to light up anywhere else on the food chain. But here's hoping he's an exception. I live in Lansing, but that team makes me wish I lived in Grand Rapids. Is the rolled from Letterkenny, the next Pavel Datsyuk. I really like this kid, and I think once he climbs the depth chart in Grand Rapids a little bit, he'll start producing. He's a bit like Wallinder was a year ago, buried in the depth chart by older guys, Edvinsson, Johansson, etc., so he's not getting those prime offensive minutes, and his scoring is low. A year from now, he'll be in the top 6 and in the power play, and his stats will shoot up. Good for him. He basically had to sing for his supper this season on a tryout. I haven't watched many Grand Rapids games. His stats don't impress me. Is there something that I'm missing? He hasn't looked out of place in the AHL. He's just not getting the production to back it up. Pretty sure he's been deployed sparingly in the 3rd and 4th lines. Drafted as an overager from junior, he will take some time to develop. If he doesn't crack the NHL roster, he may end up as just a career AHLer, which is fine because good teams need good AHL players to help with their young guys. He hasn't been getting a ton of minutes, so I wouldn't hold it against him. Grand Rapids has a ton of good forwards this year. He has also been injured and missed camp, so I imagine that's a really tall order. Get back into the swing of things, but playing on an entirely new level of competition in a new system and a new coach. And at the end of the day, you have to acknowledge that Ondrej Becher, overage player or not, he was still a 3rd-round guy, and 3rd-round guys, while it is you'd reasonably hope that your 3rd-round picks make the National Hockey League, they're never guaranteed. Even guys in the 2nd round are not guaranteed. Anything past 30th overall is usually a 50-50 shot at best to making the National Hockey League, and it gets a lot lower as you get further into the draft. So, for Ondrej Becher, this obviously wasn't a top 10 talent that they ended up taking. This isn't a guy that was ever guaranteed to being something, but for what he is, he's a really interesting name that has had a slower development path than usual, who was brought on as an overage draft pick and an amateur tryout player in Grand Rapids, but who is now going to be getting his actual salary via the form of a regular contract signing. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about Steve Yzerman making this smart signing, taking this guy's name, putting it to the pen, putting it to the dotted line, and doing all of this before he is eligible only for a 2-year ELC. Now he's got a 3-year ELC, and the Red Wings have a little bit more flexibility here. Big, smart move by Steve Yzerman. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.